earth trembles, the skies grow dark, and nations change their course. It's not coincidence, it's a warning. What the prophets saw thousands of years ago is unfolding before our very eyes. The clock of the universe has already begun to strike its final hour. Between heaven and earth. The earth is trembling, not only in a literal way, but also in a spiritual one. In recent weeks, we've seen a sudden rise in earthquakes and tremors that grow stronger each time. Storms that devastate entire regions, and mysterious lights in the sky that no one can explain. Across every continent, the earth seems to be shaking as if trying to say something. Mexico, the Philippines, Russia, Indonesia, Ecuador, all have felt the vibration. And what's most unsettling is not the magnitude of these events, it's their frequency. Global seismic activity has increased by more than 35% in just the past 5 years. According to international records, the news calls them natural adjustments, but the prophets called them signs. Jesus said in Matthew 24-7, "There will be earthquakes in various places, and all these are the beginning of birth pains." In the original text, pains refers to labor pains, the contractions that announce something is about to be born. It's not destruction, it's a warning. The planet seems to be announcing a greater change, as if history itself is about to give birth to a new age. Even science admits something doesn't add up. In recent years, faults once thought dormant have reawakened, and massive earthquakes have slightly shifted the Earth's axis, shortening our days by fractions of a second. What Isaiah wrote nearly 3,000 years ago has become literal. The earth will reel like a drunkard and sway like a hut. What was once prophetic poetry is now measured by satellites. And while the ground trembles, the heavens also send their messages. In 2024, humanity witnessed 3 solar eclipses and a blood moon, all in a single year. Astronomers call it coincidence. But Joel 2:31 foresaw it long ago. The sun shall be turned to darkness, and the moon to blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. Solar flares disrupt communications, geomagnetic storms distort the skies, and auroras appear in nations where they were never seen before. The entire universe seems to vibrate in the same frequency as the Earth at the same time. The climate has become unpredictable. Deserts are flooding overnight, while rainy regions are drying out. The poles are melting faster than ever recorded. Ocean currents are changing course, and the seasons themselves seem confused. Luke 21:25 captures it perfectly. There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on the earth distress among nations, confused by the roaring of the sea and the waves. And the sea indeed roars. Tsunamis, hurricanes, and record-breaking storms again and again. The ancient scriptures reveal a clear pattern. Natural signs always precede great changes in human eras. Before the flood, the climate shifted drastically. Before the Exodus, the waters of the Nile turned red. Before the birth of Christ, an unknown star crossed the heavens. And today, history is once again marking its prelude. Astrophysicists have observed that the sun is going through a hyperactive cycle directly affecting the Earth. Its magnetic field intensifies. Solar storms increase, and satellites detect electromagnetic pulses never seen before. Some call it a planetary realignment, but the prophets would have called it divine adjustment. Romans 8:22 expresses it with striking accuracy. We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. Never before have natural, climatic, and cosmic phenomena aligned with such precision. Everything seems synchronized, as if the clock of the universe has reached its appointed hour. And every piece of data, every event, every image from space points to the same conclusion. Creation itself is warning us that something is coming. The scriptures don't present it as punishment, but as the prelude to what comes next. The planet isn't collapsing. It's warning. And that warning paves the way for what follows: the shifting of nations, wars, migrations, and the awakening of the prophetic times we are about to witness. As the earth sends out its warnings, the nations also move, like pieces on an invisible chessboard. Conflicts are no longer isolated. They've become part of a global pattern, connecting regions, cultures, and ancient prophecies. What once seemed spontaneous now follows precise coordinates. Jesus said in Matthew 24, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." But the word nation doesn't just mean a country. In Greek, ethnos means people, tribe, or ethnicity, divisions that don't just cross borders, but exist within them. That's the pulse of our era: racial, religious, and ideological divides tearing societies apart from within. Today, we talk about hybrid wars, not just fought with tanks or bombs, but through propaganda, cyber attacks, and media control. China and Taiwan, Russia and the West, Israel and Gaza, Iran moving behind the scenes. Each conflict is a thread woven into a much larger web. The prophet Ezekiel, in chapters 38 and 39, spoke of a coalition of northern nations that would march against Israel in the latter days. The ancient names, Gog, Magog, Meshech, Tubal, now echo in modern alliances. Russia and Iran strengthen their cooperation. Turkey redefines its role. Emerging powers extend their strategic reach. This global chessboard is no coincidence. At the center of it all stands Israel, a small nation surrounded by enemies, yet a powerful amplifier of prophecy. Since 1948, when the Jewish people returned to their homeland, the prophetic clock began to tick. Jeremiah 30:3 declared that God would bring his people back to their land. That return is not just history, it's still unfolding today. A stage of conflict, negotiation, and covenant. One of the clearest signs of change today is the gradual return of Palestinians to territories once evacuated. Following a recent peace agreement and a temporary ceasefire, many families are returning home, rebuilding what was destroyed. It's a demographic shift with deep spiritual meaning. People returning to lands once taken from them, a movement that aligns with several prophecies of restoration. This return is not just geographic, it's symbolic, but it's not happening only in the Middle East. Across Latin America, we're witnessing reverse migrations, people returning from the Latin diaspora or back to their countries of origin. Haiti, Venezuela, Central America, many who once fled are now going back, driven by economic collapse, insecurity, or the desire to rebuild their nations. This double dynamic, people leaving and people returning, forms a human map that the prophets would recognize as a partial restoration of nations. To understand it, we recall Daniel 2. The prophet saw a statue made of different metals: gold, silver, bronze, iron, and clay. The feet, a mix of iron and clay, symbolized a divided and fragile kingdom, one that could not stand. That is the world we live in today, a global system pretending to be united, yet morally fractured. We cling to political alliances and treaties, but without spiritual foundation. The mass migrations of today are not merely political or economic, they are prophetic. Entire nations are emptying, while others overflow with new arrivals. But what defines this time is a quieter phenomenon: the reversal of the diaspora. People return when borders reopen. They return when peace agreements allow it. When wars pause, they return. When governments restore stability, they return. This gradual homecoming mirrors Ezekiel 37, the vision of dry bones coming to life, a symbol of national restoration. even within Latin America. We see it. Cities that once expelled their people now draw them back. Families that emigrated now return to rebuild with faith on their native soil. It's a complex movement, flight and return, collapse and rebirth. But through prophetic eyes, it's like watching the slow restoration of nations dot, while world powers negotiate pipelines, military alliances, and global blocs. Ordinary people are quietly realigning history. Political coalitions and military deals may form the skeleton, but migrations, reversals, and returns from the living flesh that covers it. Nations no longer just create conflict, they now move within it. Countries that once sent out migrants now call them back. Lands once abandoned now reopen their gates to scattered sons and daughters. And while governments speak of peace, the people begin their own return. This human reconfiguration is part of the same divine design the prophets saw long ago. And if you think the decisive moment will be about armies or treaties, wait, the next act will be spiritual. The story of the human heart. Because when the outer world shakes, it's a reflection of something within us that has lost its center dot in this decisive moment. One truth must be clear. The real end will not be the end of the physical world, but the end of a world without faith. As the mountains tremble and borders shift, the human soul must choose to fall into fear or to awaken. Jesus foresaw this in Luke 21:28. When you see these things begin to happen, stand up and lift your heads, because your redemption is near. He didn't say run or hide. He said to keep your eyes lifted, because the promise is near for those who can discern the times. And one of the most powerful images in the New Testament is found in Revelation 3:20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with him, and he with me. That door is not some distant gateway in heaven. It's the door of every soul. The outer signs are calling us back to the inner origin. This is not a message of fear. It's a message of choice. For centuries, humanity believed the end would mean total catastrophe. But the Bible reveals another destiny: restoration, reconciliation, transformation. Isaiah 65:17 paints the picture clearly. Behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former things shall not be remembered. That vision is not an escape. It's the fulfillment of a divine covenant. The new world begins in the hearts of those who choose to believe. Amid the chaos, you have a decision to make: to stay asleep or to awaken, to let the signs frighten you or allow them to enlighten you. The final judgment will not be an explosion outside. It will be a decision within, between the world's despair and the hope of God. If you choose to open the door, you don't step into darkness, you step into light. Not into abandonment, but into communion. The world does not end for those who hold on to Him. Something new begins, and maybe that is the greatest prophecy of all, that even in the noise, even in the storm, there will always be a remnant of souls who remain steadfast, looking toward the heavens, waiting not for the end, but for the beginning of the eternal dot. May the blessing of God be with you.